What's up everybody, Maran here for another My Week With video. So this week I've been driving the 2025 Audi S5. And so I already did a full review on the S5 where I compared it to the A5 back-to-back on the launch program for this vehicle about 3 months ago in Colorado. And it was really impressive out there. The one gripe that I had that I wanted to evaluate further here this week was the turbo lag or throttle lag that this vehicle seemed to have out there. And I'm happy to report that it is mostly fixed here, and I'm not sure if they did some type of retune or recalibration since that program or what the deal is, but this dual clutch is now almost perfect. It's still every once in a while can feel a little bit rough whenever you're in stop and go traffic, and occasionally I can hear a very light, quiet thunk. So it's not still torque converter smooth, but it's very, very good, and I'm just happy that it is much better. And I'll demonstrate here from a full and complete stop. There still is a slight delay sometimes, but I found myself this week not having the annoyances that I had on the drive program. And especially whenever you're up and rolling and you stomp on it, it's really just immediate. It's right there ready to go. So I'm very happy with that improvement. I'm not sure again what changed, but it is also nice and loud here in the dynamic mode. And that brings me to my second point here, and that is that cold starts, which I didn't get to experience really on the first drive, are really loud, like almost aftermarket loud. It's kind of funny. If you're buying this vehicle because you're excited about the exhaust note, just know you're going to have plenty of that here, especially on startup. It's a little droney and a little unluxury-like in my opinion because it's so loud on startup. You'll definitely be waking the neighbors with this startup, I think. But if you're someone who's excited about that, just know that it is nice and loud. I'm honestly surprised for an OEM setup it sounds like this. But it's really so much better. I love it. Anyway, cut up some corners here. I always usually take my local roads here. This thing is phenomenal with the handling, and I am just really impressed with just how well it handles here. Even though we only have 245 wide tires, especially this one with this edition one, you have these larger and sportier wheels, but very neutral and likes to fling my stuff around back there, and really just feels very dynamic. And I drove this on the magnificent mountain roads of Colorado, got to really test it a lot, and it's really just so fun. It's been a great thing to live with here this week. I love just the quick steering. This thing feels lighter than 4,200 pounds too, and just so flat. The adaptive dampers you get here in this Prestige version in particular are really good of having this wider bandwidth that I really appreciated this week, where dynamic mode is nice and sporty here, sportier than the previous generation S5, and then comfort is even softer than the prior comfort mode. And I just again have really grown to appreciate that. My preferred drive mode this whole week though has been individual, where I have everything set up to its softest setting pretty much except for the driver assist. That is in dynamic for its setting, and I like that because then I have less intervention from the systems, and none of the nagging that sometimes can happen with any of these systems from any of these car companies. And so I've just been so impressed with the comfort, and even just driving the family around as a relaxed daily driver, it is still just so nice in that regard as well. And it's just always done what I've wanted it to do, and I haven't had any of that is it gonna do it, is it not gonna do it. I haven't had any of that uncertainty, and so that was really my only complaint with this car back whenever I first reviewed it. So now I have to say this thing is almost perfect. Now there are still a couple other little complaints here. The first one that I'll mention here is that, and this also happened with the SQ6 e-tron that I had earlier back in the spring, every single time you hop into any of these new generation Audis, it doesn't do the automatic emergency braking and all that, those systems. It gives you a warning on every morning startup, or every startup in general, that it isn't doing that for the first few minutes of your drive. I don't know why. It's not like a condensation issue, because even on a bright sunny day here, everything's all warmed up, and it's still just, I started up the vehicle and said, uh-oh, we can't help you with the automatic emergency braking for the first few minutes. I don't know why, but just seeing warning messages on your brand new car not a good feeling, and so that's just one thing. I'm not sure why that seems to be just an Audi characteristic thing. Maybe it's just, again, these early production models, I don't know, but just one thing that I encountered here. Another thing that was a little less than I was hoping it would be is the fuel economy. Now, I know most people buying these probably don't care about fuel economy, so I'm not going to harp on this too much, but these are rated at 19 mpg city, 28 on the highway, and 22 combined. And in my driving here, which I did do a little bit more highway driving and put 143 miles on it here this week, I've been averaging 18 mpg exactly. So I'm 1 mpg under, the city rating. I typically do get 1 to 2 mpg less than the city rating, so this isn't wildly, unexpected or anything. And I do have to add that, for a vehicle as fast as this is 362 horsepower, 406 pound-feet of torque. This thing's really quick. I mean, it's claimed at a 4.3 seconds 0 to 60, but this thing is deceptively fast, and I would be willing to bet that obviously that's very much underrated, like the Germans often like to do with their performance ratings. I think there's some of that for sure going on here, because even in like comfort mode, going half throttle or 3/4 throttle, I mean, this thing picks up speed quick, and even quicker than I'm used to with other fast vehicles, where I look down and I'm like, oh man, like I'm actually accelerating quicker than I was intending to. It's like, it really is very, very powerful. The other things here to mention that I noticed during my week are this Bang & Olufsen stereo I still love, and I talked about this plenty on the first drive as well, but I mean, the main game changer is the headrest speakers. This isn't the only vehicle to do headrest speakers. They've been in vehicles for many years now, but this is new for Audi, and Audi does some of the best Bang & Olufsen stereos in my opinion, typically. And in this, I can say it's at least the best stereo I've experienced under $100,000. It may take the crown for the best stereo of all of the stereos I've ever tested, honestly, because it's just such a next level immersion with the headrest speakers there. And it's also really nice because they do also do phone calls, they do navigation instructions, so that's not broadcast to the entire vehicle. You can still hear it, obviously, because it's not like it's in my ear or anything, but it's just, a little less disturbing than having every speaker playing those instructions or whatever. And I just was really in love with this stereo. And my debate this week, every time I drove this vehicle, was, do I want to listen to all my favorite music with this amazing surround sound experience, or do I want to hear the exhaust note? And I kind of traded off between which choice I went for on each drive. But it's really that good, and if you love music, it's non-negotiable. You have to go for the Prestige, because it's only in the Prestige trim. That's the only way. You also get the adaptive dampers, the cooler lights. You do also get this passenger display, which honestly was left off all week. My wife did appreciate it whenever we had an SQ6 e-tron, and she did have to help with navigation and changing radio stations and stuff. She did appreciate having that, but this week here, for example, she just didn't use it at all. So, your mileage will vary as far as that goes, but that's something that it comes automatically here on these Prestiges, along with a mile-long list of other stuff. I also really love this infotainment system. And not only is it just a nice size, but it boots to CarPlay like immediately. And you'll see this in the POV video that I'll be posting, where it's the same deal. Like, I mean, as soon as I start it up, it's instantly there. It's one of the quickest connections to CarPlay I've ever experienced. And I absolutely love that. And also, being an OLED screen really does make a difference. And that's something I think Audi really should push the marketing on even more, because the OLED component, I mean, again, they're not the only one, I don't think, with OLED, in-car displays, but it really gives you a higher definition to the display and really makes everything more come alive, I guess I should say. And it's really just, I found myself, especially at night, appreciating just how deep the blacks were with the OLED here, and just how good this screen looks in any lighting. There was no glare issues here. There was just really a fantastic infotainment system. And I know, again, not everyone loves the fact that all the climate controls are in the screen. It didn't bother me at all this week. I use auto climate control and typically just set it and forget it most of the time, and so for my use case at least, no issues with that whatsoever. Didn't bother me in the slightest. The last little thing I will mention about the ride quality is that, with these bigger wheels, even in the comfort setting though, it is still sporty. You know, don't expect this to still have a magic carpet ride. You can tell that this is the sportier setup, that it has the larger wheels. It doesn't mask the you know, stiffness quite as well as some of the higher end Audis, I'd say, where, you know, you have these tiny rubber band tires on like RS6 Avants and stuff, and yet they still have this incredibly smooth ride. This isn't quite that composed in my opinion. I mean, it shouldn't be because it's, you know, much less expensive, but you know, it's debatable. You know, I think I'd like to try some smaller wheels. I haven't tried. I've only tried the, you know, these largest wheels possible. I think that smaller wheels would really go a long way to fix that, and you can get smaller wheels on the Prestige, I believe, without going for this Edition 1 version. Now, if you do want to have the most comfort possible and you don't need all this power, the A5 is wonderfully soft and smooth and comfy, and highly recommend that if you want the most comfort. But just know that you're going to have to, you know, give up some of that power if, you know, you really want that smoothness in the A5. And again, I'd just really like to try one of these without, you know, the sportiest setup here to see how it feels. But I mean, overall, even with, again, this sportiest setup, I love daily driving this thing. And, you know, it also is a nice size too. And, you know, having a nice large hatch, having a good amount of back seat space, it actually fit our daughter's car seat pretty well. Now, it's not enormous, and, you know, if you're on the taller side or your passenger's on the taller side, it still might be a little bit tight, but it worked for us this week, and it's something my wife wasn't complaining about the whole week or anything. So I'm thinking, you know, this could actually be a real viable family vehicle. And I mean, rear legroom is going to be really not just as much as you get out of it, you know, an SQ5. So I think because of the hatch here, there's really no excuse to not go for the sedan. Get the sedan. I think it handles better, it's more fun, and it's just a phenomenal experience here with these. And last thing I'm going to do here is a couple little manual shifts just to show that off here, because I haven't really played around with that here too much this week. But instant. There's a slight delay on the higher gears, but the 1-2 upshift I really love. Downshifts, nice and quick. And we'll try something like partial throttle here. A little slow. It's still, you know, it's not PDK fast, it's not ZF8 speed fast or anything like that, but it's good enough that I think most people won't mind too much, especially in a vehicle like this. You know, it's not quite as hardcore as, you know, Volkswagen Golf R, where I complain about this more. And honestly, I think this is a little quicker than Golf R, honestly, too. So anyway, yeah, absolutely love this thing. And, you know, the pricing too, you know, I discussed that in the review already, but these start at $64,000. This one has tested, it's just over $73,000. And compared to the German competitors, this is a lower price point and the best value of that bunch. Now, like I said, there's some older competitors, like TLX just got announced, that's going away, but TLX Type S is, you know, like over 10 grand cheaper, as is Genesis G70, you know, with the 3.3T motor. But, you know, they don't give you this hatchback practicality. It's not this brand new next generation fantastic technology, and, you know, they're just, you know, still a step behind this clearly. And I really love the S5, and you know, again, I really enjoyed it on the first drive, but now after living with it for a week, I kind of want one. It's that level of good where this is one of those ones I'll be sad to give back, because it's a really nice daily driver and a really fun car whenever you do feel yourself in the mood to, you know, have some better performance, you know, and have that sportier vibe. You know, this is really gives you that nice best of both worlds kind of thing. So anyway, that's it as far as all of my thoughts here on the S5. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. Huge thanks to Audi for providing me here with this vehicle to review for you guys today. Nice little bangs on the upshift, but not really any exhaust burps. But yeah, it's so much fun. Anyway, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.